Metro is a series unlike most others. It puts atmosphere above all else and is drenched in darkness and grit. When Metro 2033 released, it was something of a mid-tier cult classic, a needle in a haystack of franchise sequels. It released to generally positive reviews and praise, and was a unique take on the first-person shooter genre, set in a post-apocalyptic Russia where humanity is deprived of happiness and instead lives in a constant state of fear and depression. It is because of the premise being so unique and out there that it has garnered a growing fan base, and rightfully so. However, none of it is on the level of the game's successor. Metro Last Light holds a special place in my heart because of how it released a breath of fresh air into my gaming lungs and restored my faith in first-person shooters. It without a doubt is one of my favorite FPS games in recent memory, and the game makes it clear from the outset that this installment in the series is going to be better in just about every way. Once again, 4A has proven through finely tuned mechanics, better graphics, and a sense of progression within the story and universe that these are all moving parts that make Metro Last Light an absolute must-own experience.
Like a stroll through the park, huh?
Compared to the original Metro 2033, Metro Last Light is a huge advancement in terms of gameplay. Stealth was overhauled and made more approachable for newcomers to the series, and uses a system primarily based on the surrounding light and darkness in an area, allowing for players to easily avoid contact with the enemy AI encountered throughout the lengthy campaign. The game also allowed for players to customize their weapons with individual modifications, as opposed to the original no option for customization between the various weapons unless picked up with the attachments already equipped. Metro Last Light also added new weaponry, including a bolt-action rifle called the Valve, which was made for medium to long-range sniping against enemies. Other notable improvements to gameplay include the addition of a revamped inventory system, an easier-to-understand stealth mechanic in the watchlight detection system, making stealth encounters easier, more varied locales to explore, improved level design, and the addition of boss battles spruced throughout the game. The last part is among my favorite additions in the sequel, and while it can be argued that the previous installment did have boss battles, you could use that term very loosely, being that only two of the bosses you encountered were a giant mass that had taken over a room with a crane in it, and a dark one easily defeated by a revolver. These are boss battles, a struggle between myself and another living organism, one that acts on its own and presents a challenge to overcome, making combat more intense and epic. Each boss has proper build-up as you encounter them, whether it be when you first enter the swamp looking for gasoline and finding a beast of glowing spores attached to its head, or when you're in the catacombs beneath a church and you hear distant noises of what sounds like the smashing of walls and rocks in the environment. The developers used the sound effects and boss creature design to great effect this time around, and it shows through and through. That is not to say that the basic enemies don't share the same improvements. The last chapter of the franchise had monstrosities that felt different but not different enough. You had your snouts, who were your basic cannon fodder for most mutant encounters, now referred to as Watchmen in the sequel, and the Wigan monsters called demons that terrorize you from above, and a brief encounter with the best creature in the game, the Librarian. In the sequel, you get those wonderful beasties back and more. Probably the second most common enemy next to the Watchmen are the newest additions, spiders. They offer some of the more creepy moments until completion of the game, where the only way to kill them is to shine a source of light on them until they burn up and flop on their backs, exposing their underside and making them vulnerable for the kill. You have shrimps, which look like giant slugs and remind me of that scene from Peter Jackson's King Kong, where one dude gets devoured by the slug-worm hybrids. Among more enemies. One other space of improvement is in the previously mentioned level design, especially the parts where you're stealthily sneaking around human-occupied areas. I love this aspect of Metro Last Light, mainly because in a way, the levels feel like puzzles. What I mean by this is that you can go through the entire area without ever being seen, provided that you are mindful of each enemy's whereabouts and their line of sight. And it is clear that the game heavily caters to this playstyle. More so than the original game, no matter where you are, you need to be alert and careful about your placement in enemy territory. It can be easier than you think to get spotted, and once you survive several engagements with the enemies, you start to learn how to properly navigate around the dimly lit battlefield, and it feels so rewarding when you successfully do so. Ultimately, these changes are great additions, and while some fans of the original may have felt alienated because of the game being easier, it makes it accessible for newcomers to the franchise. There is the return of the modes Ranger and Hardcore Ranger, which makes the opposition deal more damage while removing the player's HUD and making ammo and supplies harder to come across to present those players with a greater challenge. One thing that hasn't divided the fans is the atmosphere.
That's unusual. New face.
Take this outside.
Why is that going to stay here for some time?
What did I say? Out!
All right.
And take your shit with you.
Sure thing. It's called.
What's taking you so long?
So you can't say it. Isn't fair.
Hey, come take our order now. All right, dog. Quiet.
Atmosphere is back, and it's more depressing than ever. If Metro 2033 had such a heavy atmosphere, then Metro Last Light is taking that and crushing you with the weight of it. It leaks sadness and builds on the established setting of the first game. There are several moments in this game where you stop and just listen to the conversations that the people of the Metro are having with one another, and it makes you feel like you were there with them, just listening to them drone on about their chances of survival or death.
Here, darling. Don't look there.
What's that, Papa?
Nothing. It's all right. Just don't look.
When are we going to go home?
Soon. Very soon.
Where's Mommy? Where did they take her?
Mama's home already. We'll be with her soon.
I miss her. I want to go see her now.
You will. But in just a little bit.
Don't believe this.
Again, for the second go around, immersion is the name of the game here, and world building is stronger than ever. The setting once more is mainly underground in the dark Metro system, but this time it feels more lived in. Environments are fully realized in great detail, bodies litter the Metro tunnels, non-player characters speak of the horrors going on in the many different home stations, and beasts own separate, once flowing with human life portions of the underground. I personally believe that the atmosphere is one of the main reasons why this game has such a great pacing and level design. For example, there is a part in the campaign where you and a partner named Pavel must journey to a save station known as Theater, and on your way there, you stumble upon a pocket of the pathway to the theater where it is ruled by these spider-like creatures only affected by light. It is a nice change to see a part of this area dominated by something other than humans in the underground world, and while it can be noted that Metro 2033 had a section like that in the ghost portion of the third chapter, these parts were scattered few and far between and don't have quite the same impact. Speaking of areas dominated by humans, the warring factions have a much bigger focus in the setting. After the events of the first game, where you and a group of rangers discovered the military station called D6, you've taken control and turned it into the main source of military operations for Artyom and your faction of rangers that he is now a part of. But while it is great that the rangers control such a huge presence in the Metro with this base, it simultaneously makes the rangers a bigger target. Every main faction is after this base. You have the Red Line, also known as the Reds, a large group of communists who are looking to push their agenda throughout the Metro system, and the Reich, a German Nazi party looking to take over D6 and oppress anyone considered not to be normal in their eyes.
The Ranger of the Order. A mutant the size of a child was caught near him. It was delivered to Reich as well.
I'll deal with it later. This one.
Suspected mutation.
No, I'm normal. See, 2 arms, 2 legs, 10 fingers. Don't you understand? I'm a Hansa citizen.
Shut up!
You're not in Hansa. Here you are a suspect in the distribution of corrupted genes. And this is your trial. If your skull has the correct proportions, you are free to go. If not, you are an abomination. Science, you see.
This is an outrage.
I told you to stay still!
Well,
Let's see. 318 millimeters by 302.
let's look it up in the table. Ah, congratulations. You're a mutant.
No, please.
To the garbage chute.
In Hansa, a sort of democratic capitalist area where both the Reich and Reds do training business. Hansa has many things that the people of the Metro want and need, such as basic things like water and power. Many people from the previously mentioned factions expressed their emotions on wanting to relocate to Hansa, but this is not possible for 2 reasons. One being that the Reich and Reds will kill anyone that tries to leave their stations seeking refuge, and two, Hansa itself is very wary of incoming refugees and often turns them away. These three factions are the main force pushing against our hero while he makes the trek through their story, but we'll get more into that later. All of these elements combined create a universe that feels lived in just as it did in the first game.
Quit looking at my ass. It's way out of your reach, rabbit.
Metro Last Light is not a direct adaptation of any of the books from Dmitry Glukovsky's cult classic series, but rather follows Artyom through the Metro. That isn't to say that the author didn't have a part in the game development or even the story. He gave 4A a little more freedom to create a new and fresh story within the Metro universe. It starts off simple enough. 1 year after the events of the first game's ending, Artyom and his fellow Rangers have completely restored power to the station D6 and are now using it as a base of operations for their military goals. Metro 2033 had 2 different endings that the player can unlock, but the canon ending is the annihilation of the Dark Ones via the D6 missile launch from atop the tower. All seems to be going well until Khan, one of Artyom's old companions from the first installment, notifies him that a surviving Dark One has been spotted on the surface. Khan sees this as an opportunity to rectify what is seen in his eyes as a mistake made by the Rangers, and to reconcile with the creature, while Miller, the leader of the Rangers, sees this as a potential threat to humanity. As the leader, Miller orders Artyom to find the mutant and dispose of it once and for all, and thus our story begins. And as you can guess, the scheme to capture the Dark One doesn't go as planned, and instead it is Artyom who ends up being captured. Artyom is just as quiet as ever and still only speaks through a journal played in between sections in the campaign. I personally still love this aspect of the game, as it adds to the somber and quiet tone that the game strives for and puts you in the shoes of the protagonist. When talking about the story of Metro Last Light, it must be noted that this tale follows the human conflicts a lot closer than its predecessor. We get to see behind the enemy lines frequently and experience firsthand how these other factions operate and what their true motives and intentions are. Characters are given so much more to do this time around and don't seem to rely on Artyom as often as they did in Metro 2033. Anna and Pavel are prime examples. Anna being introduced in the opening levels as an excellent sniper.
That's some fine wasteland. You guys sure did a good job here. It's strange. What could still be burning after all this time? Well, it doesn't matter. Move towards it. I'll cover you.
And Pavel being introduced shortly thereafter.
Get the officer! Hey, you! Here. You keep the knife. Keep it. So, you're with the Spartan Order? I'm from the Red Line. Our superiors are not on the best of terms, huh? But I say fuck that. Oh, fuck that. The grunts stick together, huh?
Pavel is especially intriguing as he is aligned with an opposing faction known as the Red Line, but seeing that he is captured by a third faction known as the Reich, he decides that he and Artyom will be more effective if they work together. Watching these two have a friendship that blossoms is a cool development that unfolds in the early hours of the game. Unfortunately for our hero, he's betrayed later on and the story evolves to not only a hunt for the last Dark One, but also a tale of revenge as you track down Pavel and his group of Reds as they follow the trail of the Dark One as well. All of this is filled with a plethora of some great set piece moments and some truly amazing locales. You'll travel through swamps, catacombs, spider-infested tunnels, flooded metro stations, as well as some nicer places such as a station known as Theater that is recognized for its shows and performances that it puts on, or Venice, a station surrounded by water and fishermen trying to make a living. The places you visit and wander through are surprisingly more diverse than you would expect. The same feeling of loneliness that once plagued you in Metro 2033 still lingers a year later, but somehow there is a sense of hope within the world. Through all the darkness and sadness, you get the impression that the worst has come to pass. It feels as if 4A is going for a tone of wanting to make the player feel hopeful for the future of the metro system as a whole, as well as the future for the surface of Moscow. Allow me to explain. I believe there is an underlying theme of hope throughout the journey of Metro Last Light. This is based off moments in the main single player experience, which I will list in detail. The environment that was once decaying and completely irradiated is starting to show signs of life again.
You have been through some bad shit, I know, but not like what's coming. Artyom, remember, if you want to live, don't drop your guard for an instant, okay? Whoa, that's impressive. I heard about this place. That plane was headed into Moscow when the whole city caught fire.
The surface of Moscow shows signs of spring as the snow thaws and melts on the outside of dilapidated buildings, and as rain pelts the ground and your gas mask, thunder booms and lightning streaks and shoots across the gray sky. Eviscerated buildings are now showing signs of vegetation growing through the cracks of the walls, unveiling a potential future above the metro system. It's destroyed beauty at its finest, and while it isn't habitual yet, or anytime soon, it still shows that there is hope for people living underground to one day come out from their reclusive lives underneath the surface and potentially start anew. Pavel and R-Team's relationship is an interesting one. They are allied with two opposing factions, R-Team with the Rangers and Pavel with the Red Line. R-Team and the Rangers are in control of the highly sought-after station, D6, while Pavel and the Red Line are arguably the largest of all factions in the Metro while believing the ideology of Stalinist communism. Everyone is equal and everything is shared equally. These two sides are at war with each other along with the Reich, but due to both R-Team and Pavel being captured, they are at first forced to work with each other to escape, but eventually a bond is formed between the two of them.
Over here! Hurry, Artyom! Jump! Hands up, you fuck! Crawl through here! Crawl through here! Shit! You right? Hold on, Artyom, hold on! There you have it! On the ground, you bitch! I surrender! Do not shoot! Hold on, Artyom, hold on, just a little more! No! Catch them!
It happens a little fast, so it doesn't feel as natural as you'd expect it to, but nevertheless, it paints a picture of a better future for all human beings in the Metro. Until the point of his betrayal, Pavel makes this apparent when he mentions things like being the Three Musketeers.
Fucking bitch! Artyom! Right! Right! There you have it, bitch! Whew. Thanks, chuvak. One for all, huh?
Or being brothers in the Metro.
We'll have to make do. Now come on, take what you need. We're all brothers in the Metro. Hey, приятель, I could use a good watch like yours. Knowing how much air you got left is a must, huh?
He has more depth than pretty much each and every one of Metro 2033's cast of characters, which is why there is an overt feeling of hope throughout their expedition. The third symbol of hope within this tale is shown through the Dark One that R-Team finds. The Dark One is a child, and is supposedly the last of his kind after R-Team and the Rangers launched a triage of missiles at their home, effectively eliminating them all except for the lone child. He by himself shows hope just by existing. He also is the key to the war looming over R-Team and the Rangers' shoulders, and without getting too much into spoiler territory, this child is the main motivation for R-Team to get home and save the Metro from the lurking chaos soon to come. Metro Last Light is an improvement in every way, and I feel that this is no more clear than in the graphics and sound design. The team at 4A has concocted one of the best looking games in recent memory. This game is consistently used as a test for gaming PC rigs just to see how far someone can push their hardware. Environments leak memoirs of a time where people struggled for their lives as they tried to outlive the impending doom. The bodies are scattered everywhere, regardless of whether you're underground or above ground. The world feels much more lived in and makes you feel like you're part of an aftermath in a struggling to get by society, full of innocent and not so innocent members of it. You'd think that the metro stations would look samey after a few hours of wandering through them, but they don't, primarily because they're either infested with spider nests, flooded, ravaged, inhabited by monsters, or loaded with paranormal entities. Like I said before, environmental storytelling is a strong point here, as you can gather a lot of what happened just by stopping and admiring the shattered beauty in the world. More colors are used, especially during the downtime when visiting stations like the Reich Station of Operations, the theater, or Venice. Red is used more as an accessory, and not only for blood-splattered walls. Neon colors clutter the bars and strip clubs, and green is used to show that life above ground is starting to return. Textures look a lot better, specifically when it comes to cloth. For instance, when you get a rail car, it's revealed from underneath a blanket and the way it moves looks so natural and smooth.
Did you see the armored train the Reds are building? Well, we built something too, with the stuff the refugees are bringing. Here, take a look. At this baby, the boys even gave her a name. You can't help but fall in love with her.
There's a few other moments like when you see flags guiding you to your next destination on the surface. Exceptional sound design in any atmospheric or horror game is a must-have, and it is much more prevalent here in Metro Last Light. Chiefly in the levels where paranormal elements are introduced, you hear things that aren't there, and you come upon seemingly random flashbacks that show images of what happened seconds before nuclear war took place.
Did you see? The little human is looking for another human. Not like you.
Hearing growls and howls as watchmen approach, or listening to the spiders scutter around the dark looking for a chance when your back is turned can be stomach-turning when you aren't expecting it. Weapon sound effects stand out as shotguns sound beefy, and bolt action rifles have a satisfying ring to them. The music has also seen growth, as it could sometimes sound too similar in the previous game. Here it is varied and packs emotional punch, notably when the action set pieces are going on. They stick out in my mind more so than the original score from the first chapter of the series. It's soft when it needs to be and loud when the set piece calls for it. The only place where sound lacks is in the voice acting, which is hit or miss for the most part. Some lines come across with heaps of emotion.
So, what do I do now? What do I do, Doctor?
Well, you know the prospects as well as I.
I know, but still.
You were instructed on the safety precautions, on the gloves, on the mask. You signed the papers.
Yes, I did. But the kids, how was I supposed to talk to them with a mask on? They were scared. They were crying.
Yes, but you didn't save them, and you doomed yourself. We're short on people as it is, Prydurok. You could have helped so many.
Yes, I could.
All right, we'll start with symptomatic treatment and see where it takes us. A mild form has cropped up lately. There are even some cases of recovery.
While others come off as lackluster and flat, which in a game like this can definitely take you out of the immersion and world building.
So what do we do now? How do we live without them?
You can't carry that
They might still be alive.
Too bad you can't fit
Don't
them.
bury them yet.
But the shooting was so loud. And now there's nothing.
And what if they won?
Why?
In the end, sound and graphic design are part of what make Metro, Metro. Both aspects are essential ingredients that make this feel like a complete package, adding to the horrific and somber atmosphere to make the player feel as uncomfortable as possible, but not in a disgusting way. Something more like a lot of depression and sadness built up to eventually make you feel uncomfortable and to feel bad for the people in the situation.
Well, you do it first and
you want. I'll stand watch. Okay. Давай, mama. Come on. Spread them legs.
Oh, please, don't, no!
Хорош! What? You think you're too good for us?
No, please! Please help!
We're almost there. I heard you're a great shot, so here's your chance to show off. It might be a piece of cake with a weapon like yours. I wish we had more of these babies.
DLC is something that I'm kind of indifferent towards, mainly because I don't care too much about it, knowing that I can purchase the content in whatever order I choose to once it releases completely, or skip the content that doesn't interest me entirely. I realize it may not be for everyone, but for me, I don't buy season passes or DLC until I see how much I'm getting for my money. Metro Last Light incorporates DLC, and ignoring the original release of Last Light would be kind of a shame considering one of the best parts of the game was locked behind a pre-order or a paywall after release. I'm referring to the Ranger mode that upscales the difficulty. This of course would not have been an issue for the people who were new and didn't care, but to fans of the previous game, it seemed like a backstabbing to lock it behind specific requirements. This was obviously corrected in the Redux version, which included Ranger modes, as well as all the DLC content packs that released after the game was out for a couple months. Speaking only about the content that I did play because they caught my eye, I will be talking about the DLC levels Heavy Squad, Kshatriya, Sniper Team, Spider Lair, Pavel, Khan, and Ana from, in my opinion, least to most favorite. Heavy Squad is exactly why I don't buy season passes or DLC by itself until I know what I'm getting myself into. Luckily it came included in the Redux version of Last Light, so I figured I'd give it a shot. What this mission boils down to is about a 15-minute shooting gallery where you play as a soldier of the Reich and mow down Ranger opposition with a variety of new weapons like a railgun and a grenade launcher. And that's about it. No new story bits here. No lore, just a bunch of guys suited up in armor shooting at each other. The new weapons are fun and feel good when used, but it just isn't enough to warrant the playtime unless you're going for the achievement or trophy. The Ana mission is not bad, it's just something that feels like we've done in the past when you put it next to the Sniper Team DLC level, which I'll get to shortly. It takes place during the very first mission of the campaign where you watch over Artyom as you go find the last surviving Dark One. You snipe Watchman as you watch his back and eventually locate the Dark One, and as you know from the main game, you chase after him with Artyom. Throw in some stealth moments in a swamp, and you've pretty much played through the entire thing being greeted with a very short cutscene of what happens to Artyom from Ana's perspective. Again, this isn't bad, but it's not as well done as the Sniper Team level, which came out before Ana's mission. Pavel's mission is something I'm conflicted on. On one hand, I really enjoyed the ending of his DLC-specific journey, but on the other hand, the jaunt to get there felt like one big single stealth area, even though there were multiple spaces. Maybe I burnt myself out on the stealth portion of this game, because within moments of this mission starting, I just began to shoot my way through every encounter. That may be nitpicking, but I couldn't shake this feeling of familiarity when going through these areas, which look and feel different from the main single-player campaign, but just didn't have the meat I was looking for. I realize that some of you, or even a majority of you, will enjoy this mission, but for me, it just didn't do much. Still, the ending of it was interesting, and I'd say that I enjoyed it overall, just not as much as some of the missions prior to it. This mission, though, was a joy to play through. It was such a nice change of pace. Playing as a Redline sniper, infiltrating a Reich base, you sneak your way around areas, sniping guards out of their towers and taking out grunts below, all without getting seen because if you do, it's an instant fail. Enemies aren't stupid as well. You must take out the guards in the towers, then worry about the ones below. You aren't always sniping either. At one point you do go inside a decimated building and take out your adversaries via knife and silent submachine gun, so it does make sure that it doesn't feel too tedious. It takes about 20 minutes to complete, so it's short and sweet and doesn't overstay its welcome. Kshatriya and the levels coming after it are entirely different from the rest of the game. In this mission you play as a scavenger who goes up to the surface to collect old artifacts of the old world before everything went nuclear. What I love about this is that you have to open up different shortcuts and paths to make your filters and gas mask last. Filters cost more each time you buy them in one go, so you have to be wearing and doing your best to make the most out of them. Secondly, your backpack in which you store items that you find on the surface can only hold up to 5 things at a time before having to turn back around to drop them off. You are then compensated with bullets to spend on weapons and ammunition. Ammo has also seen a change here, as there are now incendiary shells and bullets which come in handy when facing the hordes of Watchmen as you adventure. The best part in my opinion though is the callback to Chapter 5 in Metro 2033. If you watched my previous video regarding that game, you'd know that Chapter 5 is my favorite portion of that game because of the librarian being introduced and the tension and fear that it brings. Well, it's back in this DLC chapter, and it feels better because of how dimly lit the room is and the build up to it as you first enter the library and remember the last time you came through here as Artyom. It's such a huge thing to fans who love the section of 2033, and seeing the librarian shout as he approaches you is a feeling you can't help but miss. There's more that I want to say, but anyone considering this game needs to play this DLC level, so I won't spoil anymore. Khan addresses more of the paranormal parts of the Metro universe, and is a great break from the rest of the DLC package missions. Unlike the other levels, you play from the perspective of Ullman with Khan on their journey to Polis after stopping a train. It's incredibly dark and interesting as you learn more about the lore of the Metro's mysterious wonders involving creatures, ghosts, and rats. That's all I wish to say about that. Just trust me on this, it's satisfying to see such a different side of the Metro system. Honestly, I thought this was going to be one of the worst of all the DLC, just based on the description of having to go through a spider-infested part of the Metro, which is something we did in the main campaign as Artyom a couple of times. Only difference here is how incredibly cinematic and tension-filled it is. It starts off very dark, hanging from the ceiling in a giant web before you free yourself and begin your escape from the lair. It's an exhilarating jaunt from point A to point B, and what's incredible about it is how it manages to feel fresh the entire way through, giving you a flamethrower to deal with the antagonistic force of dozens of spiders all trying to attack you from every angle in order to stop your escape. It all feels like one big set-piece filled level and took me about half an hour to complete, and it was intense all the way to completion. It took me about 10.5 hours to complete both the main story plus the extra content, although this was my third playthrough, so I knew my way around the gameplay. The average completion time according to howlongtobeat.com is 15.5 hours, and a completionist run will take around 24 hours to see and do everything between the campaign and DLC. It reviewed well and it sold better, with the original version of Last Light selling much more than 2033 in its first week, but the specific numbers were never released by the publisher Deep Silver. They did, however, announce that the Redux collection sold more than 1.5 million copies. 2013 was a year filled with many underrated and overlooked games. Many of them I plan on revisiting for videos like this in the future. Metro Last Light falls into the overlooked category, and while it has grown in terms of exposure, I still think it hasn't gotten the notice that it truly deserves. I don't know if or when we are going to get a third installment in this franchise, but based off of a Facebook post from July 14th, 2016, from the official 4A Games page saying that they are working on 2 projects, one already revealed to be a first-person VR experience called Artica, while the other is still unannounced at this time, but with the release of the 3rd book in the Glukhovsky series, my hope is that we will see another game following the events of either the 3rd book or potentially a new take on the Metro universe, featuring a new protagonist a year later, or maybe follow a different character in the same time frame that Last Light takes place. Whatever the end result is, I just hope that this isn't the last time we see the Moscow Metro. Well guys, that's it I guess. It is 4 o'clock in the morning after I finish this recording, and yeah, we're finally here. I guess thank you to, people, my friends, and my family being supportive, because didn't think I was going to go this far with video making or anything like that. As you know, there's no script at the end of this, I just kind of ramble on about my thoughts. But yeah, give this game a shot guys if you have not played it. I'm working on a shorter series that I can produce easier instead of having to go like 3 to 4 weeks without producing any content for this channel. So I don't want my channel to be like a dry period of no content for a month almost. This one actually feels like it might be a month. So I'm just trying to figure out content that I can put out that fill the void until these longer videos come out. So I'm thinking about, I got something in the works, I'm thinking about it. I gotta do some more testing with it before I decide if I want to put it out there. But it's something that I don't think I've seen other people do on YouTube, so I'm kind of interested in trying it out, and we'll see where it goes. Also, I think the next video in this series is probably going to end up being Darksiders 1 and 2, just because the 3rd one just got announced not too long ago. And the next one after that will probably be Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, before Middle-earth: Shadow of War comes out. I want to go back to that game because I absolutely love that game. I 100%ed that game. I got every single achievement in that game because that game's fantastic. So I'm probably going to do that after Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2. And if it comes up that Darksiders takes longer than Metro or Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor, I will do the first Darksiders, and then I will do Shadow of Mordor, and then I'll go back to Darksiders 2, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, if you guys liked the video, please share it if you can. It would mean a lot. Please like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, let me know why you didn't like it and how I can improve. I know people gave me the commentary about, or the comments about me slowing my voice down, and it's really the only negative feedback I got this time around, or last time around. So I'm hoping, you know, I know I kind of spoke fast in the beginning of this voiceover as I've replayed it several times going through it. But I did slow down towards the end, and if I did go back, it would take even longer to get this through. So I've got a pace now to slow down. I know where to add pauses and whatnot, so that'll hopefully speed up my speech, or not speech, slow down my speech for you guys. So you guys will hopefully enjoy that more. Anyways, guys, it's been fun. Like I said, leave a like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, or there was something you didn't like about it, leave a message or leave a comment below and let me know why. And also subscribe if you haven't yet. I think we're at 421 subscribers, so this is cool because I don't think I'd ever get to 421 subscribers. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm acting like it's a lot or something, but it's not. It's really not that much at all. It's nothing really, but it's something to me, which is awesome. So thank you guys for doing that, and yeah, thanks guys. I'll talk to you all later. Peace.